You know, a lot of people like to debate whether the Earth is flat or round these days. And, you know, there's a lot of interesting experiments you can do yourself to try to figure it out, or things that just don't quite line up or whatever. But the reality is you're never really going to know until you just get up there and look yourself. And most people won't do that. So really, we just got to rely on the trust of the people that have told us, which leads us to another question. Do we trust what the people in control are telling us about outer space? Is outer space even real? Before you jump off, we do got to question the fact that the original footage of the landing of the moon was lost. We lost the single most greatest achievement, the most important footage to humankind, and we lost it. And not only did we lose it, but we lost the calculations of how we got there in the first place, and we can't get there today.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
It was all recorded on these telemetry tapes. So where is this hard evidence?
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
But your own research has shown the telemetry data is missing.
That's right.
Could this be true? Mankind's first interplanetary exploration and the original science data is missing?
Apollo 11, this is Houston, radio check, over.
If it's anywhere, it should be here at NASA's Goddard Space Center in Maryland, home to the National Space Science Data Archives.
This film you're making now, what is it? Does it have a name? I mean, do you have a name for it yet,
I think you're calling it Did We Go?
Did We Go? Okay.
Doesn't have it either. The Smithsonian doesn't have it. Johnson doesn't have it.
Right. We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
NASA admitted that it had lost the original footage of man's first steps on the moon.
That technology the NASA scientist is talking about is less technology that's in your smartphone right now. In fact, it's less technology that's in a modern calculator that took us to the moon. And even though we don't have the original data for how we got to the moon, at least we do still have some of the footage. The original footage was missing, but we do have copies of the original footage, and it was preserved by a man named Jonathan Knoll. The same Jonathan Knoll who invented Photoshop. Yeah, the special effects artist Jonathan Knoll, who also works for a company called Industrial Light and Magic, working in the industry of video special effects, owned by George Lucas, who was a Freemason. And when you look at the original Photoshop logos, you start to recognize the eye, the one eye symbolism. You start to realize maybe this Jonathan Knoll guy was part of the agenda all along. In fact, maybe he might have been a generational individual that was a part of this agenda for a very long time. See, he invented Photoshop, but there was also a very famous Knoll scientist at NASA who discovered a lot of things as well. Do you think it's possible he could be related? And there was also a Knoll family that was brought over from Project Paperclip when the Nazi German scientists were brought over that helped develop NASA. Yes, NASA. And it's ironic that Nasa is the word which means to deceive in Hebrew. Speaking of German scientists that were brought over in Operation Paperclip, there's another one, Werner von Braun, a Nazi German scientist who helped develop the Saturn V rocket, one of the first rockets that took people to the moon, and Apollo 11. He was also really good friends and worked very closely with Walt Disney. Why are these people that work in space associated with special effects? Now it makes a little bit more sense why Jonathan Knoll of Industrial Light and Magic is listed on NASA's website. NASA selects contractor for the first Prometheus mission to Jupiter. Oh, representative from Industrial Light and Magic. Oh, who's that? Yeah, John Knoll. NASA announces Kepler discovery. Oh, again, John Knoll being involved. Why would a person involved in light and magic and in deceiving people with special effects have anything to do with NASA? I mean, you gotta wonder. Industrial Light and Magic is owned by George Lucas. Is George Lucas part of an agenda? I mean, he doesn't make the movie Star Wars. Clearly, it's not agenda-based, is it? But wait a second. When you start to study a little bit of occult history and mystery knowledge, you come across the story of Isis, Osiris, and Seth. You see, Isis had two brothers, Seth and Osiris, and both of her brothers were in love with her, but Isis only loved Osiris. So Seth was jealous, and Seth wanted to kill his brother Osiris. So Isis created the Jedi, or the Jedi, which was a pillar of light to stay lit that would follow Osiris around. So that way, in all situations, he was protected from Seth, or the Sith. Sound familiar? This is an occult story, but they've been blending occult stories and mysticism into your media since movies began. This is an Egyptian story that's been around for centuries. You thought George Lucas just made this up? You know, another interesting thing is that there's a demon. It goes by the name of Mephistopheles. It's written about by Manly P. Hall in one of his books on Freemasonry, that they conjured him to get information. And there's a picture drawing of him. He's a short, wise demon who has pointed ears. Sound familiar? Oh yeah, Yoda. And the name Yoda is actually probably derived from the way in which Yoda speaks. In a grammatical sense, he speaks as though someone that speaks Hebrew would speak, and his name, Yoda, is derived from the Yod, which is the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And then it makes you think, nah, that's silly. Or is it? Because maybe the little box that you see on the chest of Darth Vader had Hebrew writing on it to mimic the ephod that the Jewish priests used to wear, as my friend JT follows JC pointed out in his video. So I guess the real question is, do you trust the ones that are in control? Do you trust the Nazi generational scientists who named NASA after Nasa, which is the Hebrew word to deceive? Do you trust the fact that we lost the moon landing footage and it was recovered or retained by the man who invented Photoshop? Do you trust that NASA has always retained a relationship with people working in special effects, like Disney? Do you trust the media with their occult knowledge being woven into everything that you watch? And regardless of whether the Earth is flat or round, hopefully we can all decide if the people in charge are actually worthy of our trust.